Go on,
That
Purvis.
there's no way, Brandon. There's no way.
There's no way.
This is
You can't come back.
unreal.
This is scorched earth. This
I'm
is.
serious. When I see the tweet, she's like, he made graduation. I'm like, this means nothing to me.
He doesn't mean anything. There's just no going back. Like it's over. It's done.
Isn't that? When people are just like, oh, he doubled down. Like, no, this
it's
isn't
done.
even like.
This
is now his character.
Yeah,
this is what he will be remembered for.
Like, first off, like, could you imagine if he tried to drop an album? Like,
Jesus Christ, there's no way. There's no way I could believe he's going to be working on an album any time in the future.
Like, yeah, like, first off,
no.
totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. But like, he's a musician. Like,
is he still a musician? Okay, here, I'll say this. I'm not stupid enough to think like, oh, someone's going to lose their talent. It's like, come on. It's Kanye West. He's not going to randomly not know
God
music.
damn it. I thought we were going to go, because I started recording, and I'm like, dude, how long can we have this conversation without even saying his name? Like,
I'm just saying though, like, in reality, you know, he's not gonna not know how to make music or be good at making music or be creative.
Yeah, no, and like, I totally agree. But my thing is,
what's gonna be the message? What would even be the topic?
That's my point. First off, like, yes, like there's no way he doesn't know how to make good music, right? But I do think, like, especially with everything in the rear view now, like, his last couple of albums, there was a bit of a drop in quality.
A clear drop in quality.
Even, like, the ones I like Donda. Like, Donda is nowhere near My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy or Life of Pablo, even, for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not.
I mean, they don't. It's compare. A good album. It's true.
It's a good album,
but they don't compare.
No,
let's be honest.
So, like, first off, you're getting that, and then also, like, what is the message gonna be like exactly? And like,
there's times when you listen to music, and it's just like, oh, this slaps, but you really don't listen to music. No, there's no way you're gonna be listening to music like I need to like it.
Who would be like, oh, I could be on a Kanye West song right now?
No one.
No.
He would have to produce himself. Nah. Here's the thing.
Because he made a big deal about standing by DaBaby. But DaBaby...
I think a lot of people are talk. A lot of people are going to be like, oh, like people like DaBaby, people like Antonio Brown. Like, there's going to be people that has been on, quote unquote, been on Kanye's side through like the midst of some of this insanity.
Yeah.
But I'm serious. I do not think when it comes down to it, like, sit in the studio, rap about like anti-Semitic stuff or something like that, there's no way.
No.
There's no way.
Yeah, there's no way.
You would have to be insane to throw your own career away. Like, don't get me wrong, DaBaby has fallen off to an insane degree.
Yeah,
but he still has a career.
That's the other thing, is that, like, well, first off, I don't know, dude. He hands out tickets to Cheesecake Factory. But at the same time, he's not an anti-Semitic bigot. Like,
this is true. This is very true.
Like, even, like, the stuff... I mean, I would have no doubt that, like, DaBaby is bigoted against queer people. But, like, even the stuff he said that got him rightfully shit on, I think, like... That's nowhere near.
It wasn't to this degree.
It's nowhere near like what we're talking about here. Like, so, maybe Marilyn Manson, if he's not in federal prison for sex crimes, like,
maybe.
Yeah,
like, and he did show up at the Donna experience. So.
I can't believe it, man. We live in a garbage future.
the whole time we saw this coming, and we were just. I don't want to say blindsided because we're not that slow, but like, man, I didn't hope it would come to this.
But like, we did not think it would go this far.
That's what I'm saying. I did think it'll come to this.
And like, we are like very harshly like, no, this Kanye's over. But like, just so people understand, so people don't think like, oh, they're casual Kanye fans. There are two STEM players, like
sitting in front of me, literally right now,
reach from both of us right now, like
on my desk. I am looking at it.
Yeah, like it's right here. Like we were. This was our guy. This was our guy.
I didn't expect it to.
And
come
like
this
guy, I am such a big fan, or was such a big fan of this guy so much that like a good friend of mine, shout out Javante, he like checked in with me to see like if I was doing okay with
like bro,
but
one
like,
of your heroes is like
honestly like I appreciate it though, because like it is hard. It is hard watching someone who taught you how to love art become one of the most despicable people, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I've had to defend Kanye because, like, yeah, he's an asshole, but, like, he was never harmful like he is now.
Right. I was about to say, he's done stupid and questionable things.
Yeah, and,
that
like, and also he's done plenty
immoral.
of bad things and immoral things that weren't as bad as this, you know?
Very true.
You know, like all the
the
Trump
thing
stuff.
is, like... wow, I did not expect to go directly into this conversation. But this is a conversation I've had with like a couple of people in my community for a while. And it's like...
We're getting it out of the way.
Yeah, we're getting it out the way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times where like, you're right. This is not the first time Kanye West has done some terrible things. Like immoral, like terrible things. And he should have been canceled, honestly, years ago. He's done several things against specifically, and I can speak about this.
was on borrowed time, like
exactly, and like I can speak about this because I'm an African American male. But like he's done so many things that deserves to be canceled that were against African Americans. He said slavery was a choice. He's done stuff with Trump. Like there's very direct certain things that are against quote unquote the culture, like the culture that we are speaking about every week, the culture that he is supposed to be supporting. And, like, in reality, if black people were to stand together, Kanye West should have been canceled a while ago. But we still buy Yeezys, we still go to his concerts, we still do yada, yada, yada.
Did you
this is the first
get
time
rid of your Yeezys like you said you were?
They're sitting in a box, and I haven't touched them in months.
You know, I think that's probably the best thing.
Yeah. I wanted to sell them low-key, but I was like, nah, I'm just going to sit on them. I'm just going to sit on them, and I'm not going to wear them. And it sucks. Because I like the shoes. I do. They're comfortable. They look nice. Yada, yada, yada. But, like, this is the first time, like, everyone, doesn't matter the gender, the race, whatever, belief.
No, this is...
Like, everyone is like, okay, no, this is... this is bad. And, like, to the point where, like, he's actually canceled. He broke deals with Chase, with Adidas, with Balenciaga, with Gap. Like, the list is endless. I'm looking it up right now. His net worth went from 1.8 billion to 400 million, and he still owes Kim $200K every month for each child. Like, if we're being honest here, are we even gonna see a Kanye West in like 5 years?
Who knows? I mean, first off, like his mental health.
As people fall off, in
you know, like I think this could be like. This could get from appalling to tragic real fast. Like,
all it takes is because he's already with the right group of people. He's surrounded himself. When I say right, in terms of what he's trying to push,
like
yeah, right. I'm trying to say the message that he's trying to push. He's surrounding himself with the right group of people for this to be a tragedy.
Yeah,
not as in like right. You know what I mean? But he's surrounded himself with the right people to actually make this become a very bad thing.
Yeah.
Like, he has surrounded himself around actual Nazi leaders.
Yeah.
That, like, can start.
Yeah.
Legitimately can start things that are on scale to the Holocaust.
Yeah.
If it gets to that point.
Yeah, if they get state power.
That's what I'm saying.
Dude, it sucks so much that, like, you know that the main Nazi guy he's hanging out with, Nick Fuentes?
Yeah.
You know he lives like 2 miles from where we're from. He lives in Berwyn.
I wonder if we could find his house in Berwyn. Oh, no, I can't say it on the podcast.
I'm not going to say it on the podcast, but I have his address. Like I have seen.
We would not dox him.
I'm not going to dox him, but I've seen his address. I've looked it up. It is 3 miles from my father's house. Like,
All right.
It is on a street I used to hang out on, like,
That's
which is like
insane.
mind blowing. First off, I'll never forgive Kanye for hanging out with a nerdy white kid from the suburbs, and it's not me. And secondly, it's a Nazi. Like,
Yeah, he's on a bad. He's on a bad roll, and it's sad because all this stuff like happened today. This is the only reason we're even discussing it.
yeah, it's happening.
It wasn't even written down on the plan for the podcast.
Yeah, but we knew it.
It's always on. Look, this is how we started the podcast many months ago. Every week it was like, okay, check in with Kanye, unfortunately. And like, we're just going to have to deal with it.
He's going on an anti-porn rant right now.
Anti-porn rant?
Yeah.
Why? On Twitter?
Yeah, on Twitter.
But
let me read this.
Why?
Remove any and all forms of pornography from Twitter and every platform. Pornography is the product of pedophilia. When grown men look at porn, they are watching someone's daughter relive trauma for money.
Jesus Christ. Wow.
Let's get to the news. Like, I don't want. Can we stop talking about the heat death of like?
Okay. We'll be. Let's start the podcast.
Jesus Christ, I'm
Okay.
done. I just can't do it. I'm pulling the ripcord on this fucking Kanye.
I literally opened up Twitter and it is the first thing I see here. The use of porn destroyed my family, but Jesus will heal everything. Sir,
Purvis, you believe in Jesus? What is? How do you feel?
I do believe in Jesus, but Jesus, man. Kanye, I don't know if I could even put him in the same sentence, in the same conversation. Did you see what Fantano responded? The photo you sent me of the Nazi symbol and like the Jewish Star of David, right? I think that's what it's called. Yeah. Fantano responded on Twitter and he said, "Definitely not raising the magnificent or my beautiful dark twisted fantasy score now. Might lower it actually."
I don't think there's a single thing I can ever defend Kanye on ever. Like,
bro, I'm starting to like Fantano so much more every day.
Dude, I love Fantano. I've been watching.
He's really growing on me. I did not like him for a while.
Dude, I've been watching Fantano for like 12 years.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, like, or maybe 10 years. I started watching him right before Good Kid, Mad City came out.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a long time ago. And I mean,
the thing is that, like, yes, he's like this super popular music critic, but like, I'm someone who consumes a lot of criticism because I like critical thinking and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I would 100% say he is just the best critic. Like, I don't think
he's really good.
Like,
and he doesn't sugarcoat things.
He doesn't sugarcoat things. Don't get me wrong. I've disagreed with him a fair share of times. You know, like, which
is normal.
Yeah, which you should.
You're supposed to do that.
Because the other thing is that, and he'll tell you this, and this is something I respect about him. Don't let his eloquence trick you into thinking that what he's saying is anything other than an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you are welcome.
And he even says that himself. He's like, exactly. Guys, it's my opinion.
He says
it's
on every video. Like,
literally.
Yeah.
So honestly, he's growing on me, and like next week we're gonna a little teaser.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about influencers.
Oh yeah. We're gonna be talking about some influencers. This will probably be another longer episode.
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, like, I'm not even putting him in mind because I just think he's like the GOAT online music platform.
That's totally fair.
You know?
He'll be like our platform. Yeah. He's where we'll set the bar.
Oh, like little live action idea for that because I was thinking about it. I say let's each come with our options. You know, I think we've already know who they're gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
But then we should have some that are kind of like above it, like Fantano.
Okay.
And we definitely need to talk about the dark side of it.
Okay.
We definitely got to talk about like Adam 22 and DJ Academics.
All the bad ones.
All the bad ones. Because there is a dark side to this. Like,
hey, it's a platform. When people are given a platform, they can say and do whatever we want. We have a podcast, and sometimes we don't always say the right things.
No, we don't.
So it happens.
Especially if the subject of September 11th comes up. I tell you.
Okay, let's move on to the news. First, we almost doxed people.
Holograms.
Now we're talking about. Next up, we're gonna start saying birds are fake. Like
Birds are fake. Oh, and Italians are a lost tribe of Israel.
All right, Kanye. Or should I say Kyrie? Either one, honestly. Okay.
What if they DNA digivolved into
Brandon, we are starting the podcast. I have no idea how long we've been going, but we haven't done anything. Anything productive.
It's been 4 hours.
Okay. We are starting the news, because it's honestly not that much. We just need to push through this. We are starting off with the albums, we are getting low-key a contender. Have you seen some of the features on this list?
Yeah, there's one that really irks me and all the rest excite me.
Which one irks you? Is it the Chris Brown?
It's Chris Brown, dude. Chris Brown is just...
I knew it. Dude, why is he on this album?
I mean, not to bring us back to the last conversation, but even Kanye took Chris Brown off his album. Think about that for a second.
It does say a lot. It does say a lot. But Metro Boomin is coming out.
But yeah,
Heroes and Villains.
Sounds fantastic.
This is going to be huge.
The rollout.
Did you see the video?
I have not seen the video, but I saw all the posters that look like old school, movie posters from the fucking 40s. Love it. Love that rollout. Specifically, the Don Toliver one is really good.
Bro. Those posters with the combination of the video, they have Lakeith Stanfield in the video.
Yeah,
because it's a movie.
That's the whole thing. It's like a movie.
I know it is huge. It's almost like a role of Batman where he's looking over the city. It's going to be Look, I'm not the first person to say this, and people said this before. He needs to be responsible for a score for a horror movie or a dark movie like Batman or something like that. He would do phenomenal.
First off, I agree, but I also think he could actually do way more.
I mean, I'm not against that at all.
Yeah, but
I'm just saying, he needs to be put on the project immediately.
More hip hop producers should do scores. Yes. That is a trend I would like to see. I remember.
I mean, honestly, the movies you can see out of what's his name? Is it Jordan Peele? What's his name?
Yeah, Jordan Peele.
Any of those movies, just throw a top scale artist for a score.
A Metro Boomin score for a Jordan Peele movie would destroy the world. That would just not be, And the thing is that he is just so. It's almost frustrating that he hasn't moved into movies in some way, because all of his releases are just so cinematic. Even when you think about on After Hours, when you go to Heartless and Faith, those 2 songs he produced, it becomes a movie for 2 tracks.
It literally is. That's a great example. And low-key, they even mention it in the video. I don't know if he did it on purpose, but I think Morgan Freeman at the end was saying, he was like, look, you've already proved yourself. You don't have to go out there and do it. This is just you doing more. And low-key, he has. He's proved himself. He has multiple good albums. Debatably classics. So I think he's ready. Everything is just icing on the cake for me.
I'm into it.
But that's literally the main album.
Yeah.
That's coming out this weekend.
Yeah. We got a lot coming out in December, but it's all spaced out pretty nice.
Yeah, we've got a lot of stuff coming up, and we'll kind of get to that as well. We've kind of mentioned some of them. But at least for this week, the singles and the videos, did you see the Seminal No L's visual?
I completely forgot about it until now.
Honestly, it's pretty good. It's not a full music video. When they say visual, it's literally almost like a scene that's repeated.
Yeah.
He did the same thing. What song was there? Was another song on the album. He did another visual of him sitting at a coffee table talking to this girl. And so these are short, quick, but they're pretty good in my opinion. I liked it a lot. Another music video that's coming out, or 2 more music videos are coming out today. Cordae has a new single and music video that was teased today. So Fago has Going Back. The music video is coming out, or I think is out. Both very talented people, very young, coming up. So it's interesting to see what they're going to do. In terms of actual singles, what dropped already this week, we have Nas and 21 Savage coming out with One Mic, One Gun.
I can't believe I didn't
Um,
listen to. I've heard about it. I just haven't. It's been a busy week for me. Like,
yeah, I
but
think this
fuck, that's a hell of
combination
a
is
combination. Yeah.
big. To be fair, is one of those that's like I would never ask for this or think about it. Not like I'm against it, but there's no situation where like
Yeah.
Brandon, you would randomly ask me like, what two people do you want to see together? I would not say Nas and 21. But now
Yeah.
that's happened, I'm here for it.
Yeah, it kind of makes perfect sense because they're kind of both like at the top of their powers right now. Like Nas is having this amazing second win with the King Disease albums. 21 Savage has really matured and is really
matured.
Yeah, and is really performing at the top of his game. So it's a nice, it's a nice combination, and I'm happy that 21 Savage is stepping up into like this middle child role.
Yeah, I was gonna say the next album that he comes out with is going to be a big staple in his career, in my opinion.
Well, I think it's an important point because I
Yeah.
think his last one was like a very strong step forward, but I still think he could do better. I still don't feel like he fully realized his potential.
I fully agree with that, if I'm being honest. Just because like that was I feel like that was his first project that was more of a strong concept or storytelling.
It was like
that
an
he puts
actual
into
project and not just a collection of songs.
Exactly. But he can do a little bit better. I can see it in him. But besides that one, some other singles that actually already came out. Sheck West, signed to
And he's really, really
the
rich.
Cactus. Yeah. Signed to the Travis Scott record. He came out with Pain. That's a big one that's hyped. They used to make jokes about these people are in jail because Travis didn't let them drop anything, but they're finally dropping.
Yeah.
And then another big one that I just realized or found out about. I don't know if you know, but ASAP Rocky is performing on Amazon Music Live December 8th, and apparently has a single coming out today.
Yeah. Do you think this is going to be do you think we're getting ASAP Rocky this month? Because that's big.
Ooh, that is big. I think it'll be good
That's big.
timing, but I don't want to get too hopeful, honestly.
I
know they're going through a lot, the pregnancy, all this other stuff. Rihanna's planning for the Super Bowl. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, I'll say this, like I definitely don't feel like I'd be disappointed if we don't get one. But conditions are right. Like
exactly. The conditions are right. I can see it happening, but I'm not gonna like
there's no clouds in the sky, but the pressure's right and the storm could come. Like
exactly.
So that's how I'm feeling about it, and I'm hoping for it because like some ASAP Rocky albums, so good. Some ASAP Rocky albums, fine. Like I don't think he has any bad albums, in my opinion, at least.
I think that's fair to say.
But I think most of them are just fine.
Most of them, I will say this, had to grow on me. Like,
yeah.
When I say grow on me, it took me a minute for me to actually go back and be like, okay, this album actually is like, it's a pretty good album. I just didn't give it the chance. And I feel like some of the albums that he has aren't really structured in a sense that like are pleasing for a one-time listen front to back. And that might just be me talking.
That's so they're not structured well, like
right.
And
so
you need to be able to look past that, like no, because I think that's valid. Because like structure's only one, and like it's very important, but like it's a relatively small part of the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
also, and this is a very pet peeve, and I know this shouldn't matter in terms of the quality of the albums, but I hate that all of them are basically named the same. I'm so sorry. I hate that there is a Live, Love, ASAP. I hate that there's a Long Live ASAP. And I hate At Long Last ASAP. Please, just make them different. It's not complicated. Because if I go back and look at it, these are all the same thing.
Yeah, no, I can't. I can't argue with you on this one. That makes total sense to me.
But what I would say then, testing does set aside from the rest of them, and I genuinely enjoy testing.
Yeah, I like testing. Testing has like some high points for me, like the song with Kid Cudi.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still not the hugest fan in the world.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
We'll see. Maybe the next one he can turn it around.
Yeah, no.
Hopefully.
The thing is that like I've always liked ASAP Rocky, but always like from like an arm's length away.
That is completely fair. And another thing I would say with ASAP Rocky, he has one of those fan bases that's like they're strong and committed. When I think of ASAP Rocky fan base, I think of like a Playboy Cardi fan base.
Or like Tyler.
He has a very clear fan base. So like he's always going to have people that's like, oh yeah, like whatever the song is, it's like a banger. And I'm like, okay, it is, but like, come on, that was 2011. Move on.
No, he has a fan base and he has talent. Like I don't think he's like bad by any stretch. I just has never really struck a chord with me.
Yeah. Well, I have another thing I want to bring up then.
Okay.
Do you remember Akon?
Akon?
Akon.
Yeah, he does a bunch of stuff like developing Africa, right?
Yeah, Akon was low-key kind of before my time.
Yeah, I remember Akon, kind of.
So I don't know how to feel about this. He's dropping an EP tonight.
Oh, wow. I'm sure that'll be fun for those people. Oh, yeah, he did Smack That.
Yeah. I mean, I know, like, Trouble is supposed to be big, Convicted is supposed to be big, but, like, it was just before my time.
Yeah.
And, like, I see hella streaming numbers, but...
Yeah, no, it was before my time, too.
Okay,
he's also
I just needed to ask.
He's also, like, a feature king.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, like, he's on...
I didn't even consider that.
He's on Bartender with T-Pain. He's on... Sexy Bitch with David Guetta. He's on a Lonely Island song.
I mean, I'm looking up, like, similar artists right now.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes sense. Like, well, I just don't know. Because, like, there's Sean Kingston, there's T-Pain that you mentioned, there's Nelly, there's T.I., Mario, Timberland, Neo. Like, all these people, low-key, were before my time. Like, I give honor to them. And I understand, like, the impact that these individual people made. Like, Nelly's huge with R&B. Mario's huge. Trey Songz's huge. But, like, that's not what I listened to when I was driving a girl around in high school. So it just doesn't really click with me.
I got you. All right. So we're pretty deep into the news then. Yep. So we got some album announcements, starting with one of my favorites, No Name.
Yeah, this is huge.
Yeah, she's announcing her album. Door 25, I don't remember the name. It was a hard time in my life. But, like, that last album she put out, one of my favorites of that year. So good.
I do agree. I think it's Room 25, but I fully agree with that. I went back and listened to all their music back in September. Telephone and Room 25. I was really impressed, honestly. I think I kind of missed out on some of these projects, and I'm glad I went back to revisit it. Yeah. It's one of those unique sounds that, like, there's a time period when Chance was good. Yeah. It's the time period that's very fun for, like, people like you and me who grew up in Chicago. Where, like, I remember going down 290, listening to, like, Chance and listening to Friends and the Lights.
Dude, do you want to hear something crazy?
What's that?
Dude, my roommate's real young, right? He's like 20. He's like a 20-year-old.
Do not tell me he doesn't know who these people
are. Oh, no, he knows who Chance is. And it's funny because he has, like, the same opinion we all have, where he's like, dude, bad day. Okay. The big day. What a mess. It's like, but he's like,
Jesus.
He was like, yeah, I was in 5th grade when Acid Rap came out. And I was like, I was your age.
Wow. Wow. Jesus.
Like,
you didn't even know what he was talking about in 5th grade.
Yeah, like,
that is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like I'm old.
Yeah, that's something definitely smack you in the face.
Yeah, like, am I old or am I an OG? You tweet us.
What's the saying we used to say? I'm young enough to sell dope, but old enough to know better. That's pretty much where we're sitting at right now.
Still don't sell dope, but old enough that I know better.
I'm just like, I'm at the period of my life, like, yeah, I own property, but, like, it's a small two-room condo. Like, let's not overthink this. I'm still in the streets.
It's like, yeah, it's like, I'm just as feral as I was, like, when I was 26, drinking
Look,
beers
if I
in a
was
Best Buy parking lot and making $12 an hour. Like,
I was about to say, if I'm given the opportunity, will I set a cop car on fire if I'm not getting copped? I'm not going to say it on the podcast, but you know the answer.
yeah, I'm not gonna say it on the podcast because fucking Uncle Sam is listening to us. He's one of our top 10 listeners. Like the government. How many of those people do you think are agents? Like some kind of like.
Like watching out for these two individuals in Chicago. What are they up to?
It's like, I don't know, we might have 69 all over again. The summer of 69, the uprising. It was violence. Anyway, Jesus Christ.
Anyway, like what are we even talking about?
Back to album announcements.
Go on, Brandon.
SZA. SZA album cover, and she's gonna be on SNL, which I always like.
Very, very big. Everything we're seeing, it's a rollout. It's here.
Yeah,
it's gonna be this month. I'm feeling it. Honestly, if you think about the R&B albums that came out this year, my personal favorite is Wasteland.
Wasteland's very good. I'm never listening to that last track ever again.
It's a serious one.
Yeah,
it is a serious one. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, no, it gets to a darker place.
Or the second to last one, you mean? I think I know what you mean though. The last skit.
Yeah, the last skit.
So just to give you some like references in terms of what we're looking at, we have Kehlani, Blue Water Road. We have Wastelands, Brett Fayez, Age, Sex, Location, Ari Lennox.
I still gotta listen to that.
Still gotta listen to that as well. We have Low Key, Gemini Wright, Steve Lacy. We have Give or Take, Giveon. Still haven't listened to that.
Yeah, I gotta listen to that.
We have Candy Drop, Lucky Day. I did listen to that. Very good. We have Based on a Feeling, Sabrina Claudio. But I mean, that's the most of the R&B stuff.
Yeah, I mean Dawn FM.
I did see that on the list. Would you consider that R&B? I'll let you make the call.
I mean, yeah, because
it's.
I would 100% say it's R&B.
Okay.
It's certainly like dance and house influenced.
Okay.
But it's not Renaissance.
Yeah, I mean, I'm here for it. I will definitely include Dawn FM.
Yeah, it's still R&B.
And low key, Digital Roses Don't Die. We talked about that.
Yeah,
so
there's maybe even soul a little bit more, but like
a little bit of soul.
Yeah,
but we have a lot coming out this year.
God.
Do you think this will top everything? Because if I'm being honest with you, like Candy Drip was great. Wasteland is in my top 5.
Yeah,
but I haven't listened to Giveon. I haven't really listened to Kehlani like that.
Yeah.
Do you think this is going to take it?
It could. Now, the difference between you and me is how much I like Dawn FM. Like I liked Dawn FM when it dropped, and I only liked it more. Like I'm starting to see it as like only a little bit shy of After Hours. Like I really like Dawn FM.
Well, you said that's like you're blind and you're.
I would put Dawn FM as like this is gonna sound like I'm really overhyping it because I still don't know if it's in my top 5 of the year, but like it's really high up there. Like it's my second favorite of his projects for sure. But at the same time, like if this is like as good as Control, it's not out of the question. Like,
okay, I'm here for it. I honestly think, like, I'll go ahead, put my money where my mouth is. I think it's gonna be SZA. I think SZA's gonna take it, bro. I'm so serious.
I definitely think she has the talent to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's been far too long.
Yeah,
I know she got some stuff to say.
Yeah. All right, and this is a very TDE heavy episode.
We'll try to make a run for it at the end.
Yeah. Absol, new project coming out. We knew about this, but possibly one of the biggest features you can get.
Yeah, Jay-Z.
And today we learned Joey Badass.
Huge. And Joey Badass, yeah. Both of them.
This dude's putting together the Avengers. Like,
Look, it's been a very long time
What if
since we
tomorrow?
got an
What
Absol.
if tomorrow we post a picture next to Jid and Denzel? Like,
Low key, I think Jid had responded to one of them that posted something about Absol recently, like
really?
today or yesterday. So,
God,
and nowadays, if artists do that, it's because they featured in it.
yeah,
That will be a lyrical heaven.
dude, Jid is so
I
good.
I know, and
He's
I
so good.
just low key, I found out I was watching. I think Absol had did a Genius interview where like you kind of talk about the song and stuff like
Yeah,
that for Do Better, and he was saying he was a part of the original Genius crew because Genius just used to just be Rap Genius, and he
yeah.
had an office in the like corporate offices. So like the fact that like this man has been around for so long and has been one of the top lyricists, like we've waited 6 years
Yeah,
since Do What Thou Wilt. Brandon, this is huge for me. Like I am so ready.
this is a big one. This is a big one.
But like
It's
you said, they're making a run for it. The
they are making a run
TDE
for it.
is trying to close out the year. And speaking of all these artists with TDE, we
Yeah,
might
we're
as well
talking
jump into our
about
topic.
we're talking about TDE artist this week. One, Mr. Schoolboy Q Worth.
Honestly, Schoolboy Q, second for me.
Yeah, we're doing
I'm
a
just gonna say it.
we're doing a
I'm just
deep
gonna say it.
dive. We're doing a deep dive on Schoolboy Q's classic Oxymoron.
Classic. I think we're gonna just say classic.
Yeah,
But yeah, this is we made a list when we first started doing the podcast. There's a list of albums we wanted to go back, kind of do a deep dive on and
yeah,
revisit, just because like they had a very important influence on our lives. There's like a timestamp in history that we can always go back to. It's a pretty big timestamp on the artists themselves in terms of like their talent and what they can do.
yeah.
Um, Oxymoron for me, this is one of the first albums that like I genuinely sat down and like listened to for hip hop. I've mentioned it many times before where I didn't really have like a phone, so like late in high school, I didn't really have all this technology where I can listen to music, and I just wasn't there. I had like a PSP that could only have gospel on it and stuff like that. But this was my first like actual rap album.
Okay,
And man, did it hit
it's a doozy.
like
It's a strong one.
hard. The concept, the actual sound of the album, the features, there is so much that goes into this album.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous.
yeah, and it's kind of crazy how kind of slept on this album is.
It honestly is. It's one
Like,
thing that we've talked about for a while, and we kind of
because
teased at it, but like, is it a classic?
yeah, is it a classic? And our answer is yes.
Yes.
Also, it is we're coming up on its ninth birthday, January 1st, 2014 is when it came out,
hmm
and we're coming up on that first birthday.
So we're getting there, and
Yeah,
it's crazy to think it's been so long since this album first came out. So
yeah.
I guess the first thing we should do is just talk about the artists themselves. How do you feel about Schoolboy Q? Like, how did you find them? How do you like them now?
So I I learned about Schoolboy Q by seeing him in concert.
Really?
Yeah, I've told you.
You have so many experiences like this, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
I know. I've told you this story before. Like, but when the first rap concert I ever went to was the Under the Influence tour, Wiz Khalifa did every year. And one year his lineup was Mac Miller as the second build, and then the openers were Schoolboy Q, Kendrick Lamar. I don't think part of me thinks it was Absol, but I don't think it was Absol.
okay.
Uh, and
I
then
mean, he would fit with the rest of
yeah,
these people.
and then Chitty Bang, which is like one of these things is not like the other, but
No.
like and
That's crazy to think.
yeah,
Kendrick Lamar opened up for Wiz Khalifa.
yeah. Well, it's just time, But yeah, it is crazy to think that. So yeah, that's why I learned about him. I heard that song because it was in 2012.
Hmm.
So it was 2 years before this album came out. So, and I'll be honest, like in that year and a half, 2 years between seeing him live and this album, I didn't really pay him much mind.
Okay.
You know, he had a feature on a Childish Gambino song before this I really liked, and then he dropped this album, and I loved it from the get go. Like it was an album, and I've talked about we talked about this yesterday. We called each other to talk about like some podcast stuff, and we just started talking about the album. To me, the only I don't even think it's a downside, but it's just like it just has so many highlights that I've come back to the album a lot less because I'm always listening to like 8 of these 15 songs. Like I was looking back at like my most like the Spotify raps from like 2018. Like Collard Greens is on that. No
I
problem.
fully agree with what you said because like Collard Greens is probably one of the best songs on the album, and the fact that it's challenging to even say that it's a lot.
Yeah.
This album's really good, and like everything that kind of goes into it. The reason I was drawn into Oxymoron is because it was my first time like really enjoying hip hop, and I feel like this does a really good job at setting itself aside in terms of actually feeling an emotion, like or a concept. I feel like a lot of times topics that come up in hip hop are surrounded by like drugs, killing, girls, stuff like that, money. And like you can say it so many times until you actually feel it. And I feel like this album does a really good job of actually like putting you in an atmosphere of like drug addiction and like drug abuse and the effects of drugs just in general.
Yeah, like both on you and your community and like your life.
Exactly.
Yeah, and like the name Oxymoron, it's it it's deep but also like refreshingly simple and direct at the same time.
Hmm.
Because it's about exactly that. Like I couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, I guess one thing I wanted to look into, or at least on an artist level, Oxymoron was, I want to say, his first like time really putting his name out there. I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of people probably found Schoolboy Q with this album.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because
and
before this he had setbacks,
right,
and habits and contradictions. And habits and contradictions is good.
it is.
Yeah,
And like a
but
lot of people who like Schoolboy Q know about this album.
yeah, but this was certainly like his first big mainstream release.
Hmm. So I guess looking back over his career, coming from Oxymoron, do you feel like he stayed at this level of talent?
Um, yes, but I don't think that necessarily translated into albums of the same caliber.
Okay.
So I think the album after this
The blank
is
face.
Blank Face LP. I
Hmm.
think it's a little bit more creative and out of the box, and a little bit more ambitious, but it's also just not as focused. And
Hmm.
overall, I don't think as good of a album. So I definitely think he has made albums with this level of like talent behind him. But to be honest, I thought Crash Talk was, well, not embarrassing, was kind of a big step down.
Hmm.
I would say it wasn't embarrassing, but it was kind of close.
I was gonna say I feel like it isn't as compact or put together because like if you look at the songs individually, there are a couple of songs like speaking about Crash Talk that we talked about a lot.
Yeah. Oh no,
Like we
there's
talked about Num Num Juice a lot.
Num Num Juice is a
Like,
great song. Num Num Juice is 100% an incredible song.
mhm.
I love the song Dangerous. Uh,
Dangerous is really good.
Floating.
Floating is really good.
Floating's really good.
Yep.
You're gaslit into thinking Chopsticks is good, but it isn't.
I do like Chopsticks, and I know you don't.
Chopsticks! It's like, what? Like, what are you saying? This is racist. Like,
all right, Brandon. Just gonna take that and run with it, huh?
Yeah. What? It's.
But anyway, the point that I was trying to get at is just the fact that there's a lot of weight, I feel like, that goes on Schoolboy Q right now. Because his next project needs to be something that bounces back. Because it's tough having, like, one of your earlier albums be a classic.
Yeah, and I feel like it's less the early album being a classic and more like that downward trajectory. Like, you know,
I mean, it's true.
You know, because like Blank Face, still really good in my opinion. Step Down, Crash Talk, good, fine, good. Step Down. That trend is not great.
Not good. Yeah, not good.
But like he dropped a single this year, and I enjoyed it. It's not like it's not going to be on my end of the year list for singles, but
right.
I thought it was good. Like I thought it was like a nice change of pace for Schoolboy Q. Soccer
I mean,
Dad.
it's nice to know he still made music.
Yeah.
I feel like it's been so long since we've actually heard from him, and that's not even on like just music wise.
Yeah, no.
Obviously, that plays a big deal into it, but like he's out of the like circle completely. I don't really see any news about him. I don't see him on any podcasts, any interviews.
No.
So I'm just kind of curious.
He got
what
real,
is he
He
up
got
to?
real quiet after Mac died, I think.
That is okay. Yeah, you got a good point.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious to at least moving forward, because one thing I wanted to do, I don't want to put Schoolboy Q in a box, but I want to understand, like, what is Schoolboy Q? Like, what does he do well?
Yeah.
And, like, how does he capture that going forward, you know?
Okay, so, exactly. And so what I think this album did really well, and I think it's what Schoolboy Q does really well, is kind of fusing the very old school gangster rap vibe with like a very modern style production and song composition that has the fun hooks, that has like the radio play. And I feel like he just needs to go down that route. Like I feel like Blank Face LP still really good, but it kind of comes across more like artsy and a little less like gangster, and I think it's for the worse. And Crash Talk, like, I think the tone was pretty good. I just don't think the album itself was very impressive.
No, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
And one thing that you just said that really clicked with me is like the radio part, because you're right. He's a good mixture between get old head, like gritty LA rap.
Yeah.
And then he brings in a more upbeat trap beat stuff that we're used to.
Yeah, like Collard Greens. Collard Greens a radio song, you know? It's a great song. It fits really well on the album, but like I think it's pretty obvious that just from listening to that song, it's like, oh, this is a hit. Like this is what this was.
Right.
And
do you think sorry, go
ahead.
No, I was actually gonna ask, just like, because this was something I was gonna bring up later, but I think it's a good time to bring it up now.
Yeah.
You just pointed out a really good point that like a lot of these songs are meant for the radio. Every album that he's came out with,
all the big tracks are meant for the radio. I do think he has some gems on here that weren't radio songs.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
But yeah, all the best songs are the ones that are meant
for the radio.
Yeah,
like which, at least with Oxymoron.
Like he put them like Collard Green's Man of the Year, Studio. I think those are some of the best songs on here creatively. You know, personally, I'm also a huge fan of Gangsta. I think that's one of the better opening tracks of that era.
Jesus Christ.
Dude, Gangsta,
so
Gangsta.
Like, literally, as hard as you can get.
It's so good.
So I think one thing, and that's what I want to bring about Oxymoron, because I was looking at his other albums too. He always has something that's gonna be meant for the radio.
Yeah,
If you look at Blank Face, you have that part,
yeah,
obviously a huge one.
yeah. Huge hit,
You have
great song.
huge hit.
Black, and I'm not just saying this because of the anti-Semitism. The Black Hippie remix was always better.
Okay, yeah, and I'm not gonna push against that.
Yeah,
Even in Crash Talk, you had Num Num Juice, you
yeah,
had Floating, you
yeah.
had Like these are
Radio songs.
basically radio songs.
Yeah,
What he doesn't do as well in the later stuff that he does amazing in Oxymoron, I think the personal music, the songs that like are for him and for the listener that's like a real fan,
yeah.
are even better than the radio songs.
Really, because I don't necessarily agree with that. I think they're very good. Like Hoover Street, I think is great. Prescription, Oxymoron, I think they're great. But I do think he puts like the most creativity into those radio hits. Actually,
I will say the radio hits you hit around there. Like it's more creative. That's more that goes into the songs.
yeah.
But I feel like
He's switching up
what
his
you
flow
get,
more. He's
yep,
attacking the beats from different angles more. It's
hmm
not just like they're throwing money at it because Kendrick Lamar's on it. Because even at this time, Kendrick Lamar was huge.
yeah,
Like, uh, it definitely seems like that's where his focus is. The only thing is that I'll totally agree. He doesn't slump on the personal stuff on this album.
right.
I
And
just
that's
think
what I
it's
really enjoy.
yeah, yeah. No, those songs they work. They absolutely are great. I just think like it's obvious to me that like this was a singles forward album. It's just it followed through on the rest of the project. Whereas
hmm
most albums that are so singles forward, that's just not the case.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And that's where you get a lot of albums that are like something that Drake would put out, or something that's not almost mass produced, but just like it's meant just for the hits. Like they don't care if there's a message behind it. They don't care if there's a concept or story. Like what song is going to hit.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess I just mentioned a little bit about the concept. So I mentioned for me why it matters so much for me is because it puts you in an actual atmosphere of like taking drugs. Like this is a time period where I know nothing about anything.
Yeah, these are your exposures to these ideas that like
Exactly.
permeate our culture. Like
Mhm.
drugs is something that is just such a ubiquitous part of the human experience.
So how do you feel then about the sound, the message, the concept of this one?
Here's the thing. It's just I think it pulls it through very well.
Mhm.
I don't think it's as successful at at its concept as the album that I think it's living in Good Kid, Mad City's shadow a little bit.
Mhm.
Uh, just because it was released not long after, like only a little bit more than a year, and I
And
don't,
that's one of the best albums
and,
ever.
and it's not even that like it's not as conceptual. I just don't think it's as much of a story as it is like a meditation around a theme, which is fine. It's
Mhm.
just that the cognitive load in my brain has just doesn't. I almost don't see it as like an album with like such a message, even though
Mhm.
like it clearly does.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, to be honest, like I think it all really really works, and I think he just does a good job of just taking that very specific style of sound he has, that very modern post Kanye West gangster rap sound, uh and he just runs with it, and everything feels just of a piece on this one. That's the thing
Mhm.
about his later albums, I feel like, is that even in Crash Talk, which I think has like the right tone a lot of the time, it's still kind of sporadic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I
Uh,
mean, you're going from Num Num Juice to Drunk to Lie, so it's very up and down.
yeah, it's very up and down, and like it. Yes, this album bobs and weaves more, but it's more like taking you on a journey.
Hmm
You
I
know,
agree with that.
and my only thing is that I just don't. I've never interfaced with the story as much, just because like I listened to this album, and like yeah, you're right. I could listen to Prescription Oxymoron and really think about these things, or I could put on Fuck L.A. and and roll my windows down. Like,
I do see where you're coming from. I really do. I think one thing that you said that kind of resonated with me is like it honestly is a journey. And I think some things that pull you into that journey, into that storytelling, like just in general, I feel like there's a lot of things that I read on the internet that are about like storytelling and about selling a message and things like that. Like there's whole studies about like how you break things down and how
yeah,
you can explain things with vivid imagery and like bring a story together where like it actually captures and entices the crew that's like listening to it.
yeah.
And I feel like there's a lot of little things within Oxymoron that he's able to kind of draw you in and like, no, like listen to this part, listen to this part.
What?
And like
Give me some examples.
the main example I could think of is just like the skits in general. The
Yeah,
actual play of his daughter
yeah,
that's coming up in multiple songs brings you back down to earth. I feel like a lot of times when you listen to hip hop albums, there's always like this meme where like, oh, I'm driving to my 9 to 5 and I'm listening about like killing people. Like it's it's not realistic. Like you don't really feel it. And I feel like this album does a really good job at bringing you back down to earth because like it's not so far out there. It's not something that insane, but it is still talking about like drugs and make it realistic. Where it's like this is kind of like this is someone's life. This is
yeah,
home. This is family. Like this is what he does and
yeah,
has to do.
yeah. No, I completely see that in this album,
Mhm.
and I yeah, yeah.
Should we?
So, do you want to go track by track and talk about some of your highlights?
Yep. That's literally what I was about to
Okay,
say.
well, we already talked about how Gangsta 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 is the best. Like,
One of the best openers.
it's like a double hit best opener, right? Because like that, like the fact that it starts with the little, I don't even want to call it
My daddy is.
my daddy a gangster. Like that's just so.
Exactly.
That's a very cool way to start an album, and then the song after hits too.
Yo, it's so hard.
Yeah, and
Um,
it just it immediately puts you like this is what you're gonna listen to right now, and also the most fun thing to just say
it really is.
gangsta gangsta gangsta. Like
We were texting each other this week, literally like screaming it through text because like it just goes so hard. It's almost like a chant almost.
yeah,
But yeah, Gangster is definitely really big on my list. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to like rank any of these, but Gangster's extremely high. Los Awesome
I
coming
love
in
those
and
awesome.
it's such a good song.
It's such a
Honestly,
good.
my favorite part is the ending where it slows down.
That's a
Oh
good
my
part.
goodness,
That's a good
it's
call.
so hard. So that's one of the first beat switches I want to say. Then you go into Collard Greens, which is debatably a song of the year, song of the decade.
It's so
like,
good, so good, and like song of the decade. Like fuck. My instinct is like that's a bit much, but I'm also like, is it like?
I mean, honestly, I feel like it's one of those songs that like everyone knows this song, everyone knows the beat. You know, at least know the chorus. Has two like really big
Oh,
names within the song. Like it just works so well. When I think of songs like Collard Greens, I think of like Goosebumps, for example.
yeah,
Like these are songs like it may not necessarily be like song of the decade by its message, but like when it comes on, everybody is like, oh, this is hard.
yeah,
Like no one's not gonna want to play the song.
yeah. No, okay, I feel that.
Then we go into what they want. How do you feel?
What they want, I love what they want. I
Hmm.
1 second. Ugh, I I don't think it like pops as much as like Collard Green's Studio Man of the Year, but
Hmm.
like 2 Chainz is just always such a fun feature.
It
And
honestly might be one of my favorite features,
yeah,
and that's saying a lot.
yeah, because this is loaded with good features.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, I like it. I like it. I thought 2 Chainz really does a good job offsetting the grittiness of Schoolboy Q.
Hmm. I agree with that.
You know, like
His
because
flow with the actual
yeah,
song is so good.
so
Like he
nice,
goes
so
perfectly
nice,
with the beat.
absolutely. Now, how do you feel about Hoover Street? Because I think as far as like the more personal songs on here, Hoover Street is one of the ones I enjoy the most.
No, yeah, this is definitely one of the more personal songs. It doesn't get as many streams, but I believe it actually has like a good story behind it. It's a good beat to it.
Yeah,
He does a really good job. Like I love it personally.
yeah, yeah. No, it really puts you into that place like in Compton.
Hmm.
You know, like talk about like a scenery.
That's why I said an atmosphere just brings in the listener
And
with
yeah,
the bass,
yeah,
dun 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 dun. Like,
exactly, exactly. You got me right there. What do
yep.
you? So
Sorry, go ahead.
let's get to the smooth song on here.
The smooth. I've been up and down with Studio, believe it or not.
Really? Because to
It,
me, I think
it
this is one of the classic tracks on this.
Yeah, honestly, it's a staple to the album. I realize that. Um, I think Studio does a really good job at putting him in that persona of like a more smoother, maybe not R&B. I don't know the right word for it, but something just like a gangster love song. Like that's what I feel like when I think about Studio.
Yeah, yeah. No, I couldn't. I mean, dude, BJ the Chicago Kid is just so smooth on this,
He's so
and
smooth.
such a luscious production.
Hmm.
Luscious production, right? Just puts you into a vibe, which is just absolutely hard pivot. Like,
Extremely hard pivot.
yeah, a very hard pivot, right? Because we get to prescription oxymoron, the namesake, and this
Yeah,
is about a pill addiction. Like,
this is a very serious song.
you know, and it's like I also do think it's interesting because we don't get stories about this kind of addiction in the hood, like from his
No.
perspective, right?
Not at all, because the most important part about like the drug addiction that he's speaking on is like the actual depression that comes with it, and
Yeah,
like
the fact that it's something you're using to treat like an ailment you have.
exactly. And that plays into like the actual, like I said, the skits that are in the song where it comes in and little girls like, "What's wrong, Daddy? Wake up, wake up!" Like that's a like
That's
I feel
painful.
that in my stomach, right? Like that is tough,
That's yeah, that's brutal. It's a brutal part of the song.
literally. And then I love songs that have two parts to it, where like
Yeah,
transitions and that oxymoron, where it's just like, okay, I love you, daddy, and then just like cut switch. Yeah, all of this is so good.
yeah. I couldn't agree more. Like, fuck. Like prescription oxymoron. The only thing is that it's not a song I want to go back to. It
Hmm.
is very much in the vein of like a requiem for a dream. Like, no, I'm okay. Like,
This is too real. I have a question then,
yeah, go
actually,
ahead.
though,
Go ahead.
because this is something I think about a lot when I see titles to albums. Does this fit as the title song? Because technically, this is supposed to be the title song. This is the Oxymoron song
Yeah,
that
no,
is naming the whole album out there. Do you think this fits as a good one,
yeah,
or
I
do you
would.
find like
I
maybe
would.
another song would fit better?
No, I like oxymoron, and I feel like it counts because like I don't know, like maybe I'm just like having a hard time recalling it so much because I blocked this out because it's traumatic. But like, is
Hmm.
there a pronounced B switch in this?
Um,
Because I don't think it's that huge. I don't. It's
maybe
not.
not pronounced, but like there's a whole skit part in the middle where like
Yeah,
it's a clear switch between the beats.
yeah, yeah. You're right. Fuck. So I mean, maybe this should have
Hmm.
been just like one track, but the thing is that it's no, it's like 7 minutes long. Like this should have been two different tracks. I feel like,
Hmm.
and had that skit like at the end of one, and then this would make total sense for the name. But I think as far as the name goes, I think it really does a good job of like being a good name.
Yeah, I was literally about to say it's a really random thing that I pay attention to, but I've seen it happen a couple times. The most recent one was this year with Mr. Morale and the
Yeah,
actual song Mr. Morale. And
yeah,
it's just like, okay, this is the album. Like I get
yeah.
it.
This
Like it
makes
was a
total
perfect
sense.
selection.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. It really does. And then there are some that are weird, like melt my eyes. Like
That just really doesn't make sense.
I no, it makes sense to me, but it's just like when I heard the guy explain it, I'm like, oh, this makes sense. But like, who's gonna? go down this rabbit hole with you.
it, it took too long to get to this answer.
Yeah,
I feel
and
that.
yeah,
Well, I guess moving on from the title track, technically the title track,
yeah.
we're going to The Purge. How do you feel?
Hell of a bunch of features on this. Real
Yep.
early Tyler the Creator and Corrupt, no G.
Mm-hmm. Both.
And you know what? I think this song is good. I don't really particularly love it, but it's really good.
I'm curious. I want to see another Tyler the Creator collab with him
Yeah,
because this was 2014. This was him fresh off of Wolf. It's
yeah,
like it works. You have that gritty, like
yeah. Because he's just a different
almost
kind
insane,
of gritty. Yeah,
right? Like everyone knows if you go back and listen to Goblin and Wolf, like if you low key look at the lyrics, just like I don't know if I can listen to this. It's not like moral for me to even listen to this, but like it works in this atmosphere. I feel like the storytelling and the journey that you go on within Oxymoron, having Tyler the Creator at that point of his career coming in, it's a perfect match.
I totally agree. Now, I want you to do something for me, right? Because
Okay.
spoiler alert, if you were gonna ask me, do I think Oxymoron is a classic? I'm gonna say yes. But I
Okay.
need you to sell me on the next 3 songs because despite the really good Raekwon edition,
Mm.
I feel like this is like a kind of a slow part of the album for me.
I understand, and honestly, I think that's justified. Um, the middle of the album is a little bit slower, but I would say "Hell of a Night" is an absolute banger.
Yeah,
Like
Hell of
that's
a
an
Night's a
actual
banger,
like.
but I just feel like it is, including the bonus tracks. It's like not. It's probably my least favorite of the bangers on this.
Okay,
Yeah, like
I
'cause-
gotta think of the more upbeat stuff.
yeah. Well, Man of the Year, Fuck L.A., Gangsta
Yeah, collard
Gangster,
greens.
Collard Green.
Yeah,
Would you
it
count
is.
Los
It is.
Awesome? I would count Los Awesome.
I mean,
Uh,
yeah, the beginning of it.
yeah,
Yeah. So okay, I do get that.
yeah,
If you are looking at these three, I think personally the reason I like Hell of a Night and like Break the Bank a lot is kind of like that repetitive, like chant almost that I get out of Gangster.
yeah,
But look, if these are the slower ones, I'm totally okay with that.
yeah, yeah. So that's just like my thought on like this section of the album because I feel like it blurs together a little bit. Once again, like I don't skip these songs. Like I just kind of like vibe and like move
Yeah,
on for a
you
second.
float along.
Yeah,
It's almost like a break because the two songs between you're going from the Purge with all those features, and then you're going into Man of the Year,
yeah,
which is one of the biggest songs.
yeah.
I get that.
Man of the Year is just such a highlight. Like because I remember that song blew up like well after the album came out,
Yep.
and I always thought this was the best song on the album. Like from January 2nd.
I was literally gonna say I believe this is, or this makes a strong argument for the best produced like song of the album.
Yeah,
There's so much that goes into this like song
and no
specifically.
feature.
No feature. So it's a lot and it's huge and I love it.
Yeah, no, it's this to me is a song of the decade.
Okay.
Yeah,
And this is another one. Like you said, if someone plays this, no one's gonna not like. No one's gonna actually turn this off.
yeah, no,
It's
it's just so smooth.
hmm It's an encouraging hype album or hype song. How could you not love this song? But what I'm actually interested in because I don't know if you looked at the streaming numbers. You're going from Man of the Year, which is the second most streamed, only because Collard Greens is on this album. Going to the least stream. Now, I won't tell you how I feel about His and Her Fiend yet, but I need to know what's your opinion.
I like it. I like this as an addition, but it is like kind of odd.
Honestly, I don't know why. I told you about how there's certain songs that it's like it gives the right scratch or the right like it scratches the right itch in your brain, like it just kind
Yeah,
of clicks.
yeah.
This song, His and Her Fiend, is probably my most streamed song on this album.
Really?
I'm so serious. His and Her Fiend is one of those songs that actually puts me in that, like, in the bubble. When I listen to His and Her Fiend, like, I am completely in my own head. I feel like the whole vibe of the album coming together. This is the slowed down, like, message. And I know we kind of talk about this. It's not really a clear message. It's more like a journey or a story. But this is like the slowed down story of like really grabbing everything together for me. Because I kind of talked about how like this is the first album like you kind of really almost understand how drugs works and like the effects of it. This song specifically, just because it's more slowed down and you can really listen to it, and like it's almost like the devil on your shoulder type thing. Like everything within the song, it's like I'm the thing that make the pain go away. I'm a warm and sick to your song. Like I'm gonna be with you till you're 80. Like it's certain things like that is like, wow, this is like actually
Heavy.
eating at me. Like
Yeah.
this is heavy. So personally, it's probably my most streamed song. So I just wanted to see like how you feel because it's probably the slowest song on the album.
Yeah, no, it's definitely the slowest song on the album.
Mm,
Ugh. And then we get the 2 bonus tracks. It's also like a hell of a closer.
it is.
Because it is the closer on the original version of the album.
Mm,
Now we get the 2 bonus tracks. One of which I think is kind of forgettable. And one of them I think is incredible. Like,
okay. Well, let me hear what you're saying.
I just think
Which
Groove
one
Line's kind of
is
boring. Groove Line Part 2.
okay?
Yeah, I
Yep.
just thought like this was something where it's like this could have been a single. Like, but
Let's say it's a reason it didn't make the original one.
but fuck LA, I feel like is just as good as the rest of the album. I just understand like how it doesn't fit in the rest of the album. So I do get
Hmm.
that. But I
But
think
it's
it
a
is
pretty good song.
it's a very good song.
Going from
It's probably in my top 3 most streamed Schoolboy Q songs.
oh, okay, yeah. I mean, I'm not mad at that at all. I was literally gonna say like going from Gangster as the opener to Fuck LA as the closer, and like kind of having the same vibe. I'm okay with it.
Oof. All right. So let's talk about the future of Schoolboy Q. Like, what do you think he needs to do in this next project? Like, who are some people he should work with? What direction should he go? Do you think he should be trying to recapture Oxymoron?
Um, Honestly, if he can do something more similar to Oxymoron, I think that would work better for him in terms of like actually getting numbers and like becoming successful and getting more fans back. Um, I don't know how I feel about more of a concept because we kind of talked about it. He does a good job at telling the story,
Yeah,
but is not like a full clear concept on this. So honestly, something more towards Oxymoron where there's a bunch of hits, more storytelling. I'm totally okay with that. It does not have to. I know we're so quick to be like, oh, we need a concept album,
yeah.
and like that used to be our answer. But like, I don't know if he really needs a concept
I
album
don't know
moving
if he
forward.
needs another one. You know,
Right.
I just think he needs a strong singular piece of work,
Hmm.
and concept albums are even when they fail, that's what they are. You know what I mean?
Hmm. One
So
thing that you brought up to me this week that because you said who should he work with, I could see Griselda.
yeah,
Honestly,
that's
could.
my that I think that would probably be the most interesting choice. You know, I would love if because is he done with TDE now? Like,
I don't think so. At least not that I've been told.
yeah, because we were seeing pictures of Griselda hanging out with Absol,
Hmm.
and my immediate reaction is like, Absol's great, wrong TDE member. Like,
Literally.
like I love Absol, I love Griselda, but I just have a real hard time picturing that Absol will be better on a Griselda track or vice versa than Schoolboy.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That and it's as simple as that.
I'm curious. I think he is still signed to TDE. I had to look it up. I'm pretty sure he's still signed to TDE
That makes sense.
because right now it's Schoolboy Q, Absol, J Rock, SZA, and I know Kendrick's done, right? That was his last one.
Yeah, that's his last one.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, I feel like he's gonna have to do something eventually soon because like the contract's gonna go out soon. I know he has to put something out eventually.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, TDE has to rebuild.
Yes,
You know, I
desperately.
I I don't think their output has been bad by any stretch, but they have to rebuild.
They need to be more consistent
Yeah.
because the last project, I'm not even gonna count Kendrick's. Uh, Isaiah Rashad last year, maybe.
Yeah.
That's it. I can't think of anyone else actually doing anything relatively recent. J Rock hasn't put anything out. Absol's been years. Schoolboy Q's been years since finally this year.
Yeah.
So yeah. Uh, should we just do the grading then?
Yeah, I guess we should. Oh,
I was
what do
gonna
you
say,
give it?
I mean, I think this is an obvious A or A plus
Yeah, I'm
from me.
giving it. I'm giving it an A. I'm giving it an A.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's I don't think it's an A plus album for me, and I also do think it kind of exists in a no man land of like, you know, how many people do you have to ask like name a classic rap album
Until you,
to
yep,
get this one?
that was a great point you
You
brought up
know,
earlier.
like
It's like, okay, yeah, it's a
so.
classic, but like,
I,
that's
I
only a
think
tier.
I think a whole lot of people, if you ask them directly, like, "Hey, is Oxymoron a classic?" I think a lot of people would say yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right.
All right, bet.
All right. Yeah. No,
That was
this
simple.
was the easiest grade I've ever had to give.
I was gonna say that was very simple.
Yeah.
Should we do the recommendations then and close it out?
Let's do recommendations. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm ready. The first one, I was revisiting some of Young Thug stuff. The album with like all the green background, he has a song "Pussy" on it.
Oh yeah.
Man, it's a banger. It's so
Yeah,
good.
that's a good one. The So Much Fun album.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good one.
A lot of people don't talk about that album when you think about Young Thug, but
Yeah.
I honestly feel like that's a really good one.
No, it is a really good one. You're totally right. Okay,
All right, good.
I'm bringing one of my favorite singles of all time.
Okay.
Debatably the greatest song ever written. Uh,
Okay.
Womp Womp by Valet.
Jesus
Womp
Christ.
Womp Womp. What I wanna. Dude, this was my whole summer, 2019. Just me being a
Wow.
fiend listening to this song, going around
It's
being
been a while
yeah,
since I've heard this.
yeah. So that's mine. Go listen to Womp Womp.
Wow, okay, but
Uh,
that's so dope. Um, okay, my second song then I talk about Isaiah Rashad nonstop, and I just figured we already talked about TDE. Isaiah Rashad, if you go back to one of his first albums, he has a song called Menthol. That whole album is just an absolute vibe, but I recommend starting out with Menthol. It's so good.
okay. Damn. All right, I got another one. Okay. So this was this is a song that when I got my Spotify Wrapped, it's in my Wrap for the second year in a row, and I think it's funny because it came out on an album that didn't come out all too long ago to be
Mhm.
2 years in a row on my top five or my top 100, and it's Gravity by Brent Faiyaz and Tyler the Creator.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that's a good one.
yeah,
That's a really good one.
very poppy, but absolute banger.
That is a really good one. I like that. I'm trying to think. There's another. Sorry, another one. I'm getting distracted. Um, then I'll do my last one real quick. Brandon, I've been sitting on this for about 3 or 4 days now.
Here we go.
Oh,
Here we go. Oh, because my next one, you're gonna reject. You're gonna be mad at me.
oh God,
Yeah,
no.
like
Okay, well, damn, I was gonna give you a treat. All right, well, I found this song about 3 or 4 or 5 or a couple of days ago. I was gonna text you. I was like, "Nah, this is special. I got to bring this up on the podcast."
here we go.
So I found a leaked song,
Here we go.
a song that was never officially released,
Here it is.
a song that honestly, it sounds so good and so powerful. I understand why they took Georgia Smith's part off. Drake has a song that never came out that's called Never that was originally featuring Georgia Smith.
Yeah.
This song is like on the tier, in my personal opinion, in terms of like love songs that Drake has done, this is on the tier of like Marvin's Room.
Really?
Personally, I honestly, it's so rare to find this like song. They've like erased the internet of Georgia Smith's like feature because like it just destroys Drake apparently. Like the lyrics destroys Drake. And it has a beat switch as well. It's a really good song.
Send it to me.
I'll send you the link. It's on SoundCloud. It is Drake called Never featuring Georgia Smith. This song, my goodness.
Okay.
And that'll be my last one.
All right. I can respect that one. Here we go. All right.
Oh boy.
So I want to go back to the Dat Piff era, right?
Okay.
Because I was watching some of the videos, looking stuff up for next week's episode, and a lot of these videos are like 6 years old, 5 years old,
Mhm.
and they're from the perspective of people who are like probably like maybe a generation or two before us, but like the very first hip hop fans on the internet, right?
Okay.
And I was watching. They have one of the guys who I have in the doc. He has a series on Hip Hop DX, and it's called like the Right to Exist series, where he talks about gangster rap and like the apparent negative effect that could have. He talks about like queer rappers who have been in the game the entire history of hip hop, and he's like, does queer rap have a right to exist? Then he has one talking about like white redneck rappers, and he's like, does this have a right to exist? And the answers are yes, yes, no. But he brings up one artist, and like there was a time where this artist I thought was going to be huge. I thought he was legitimately one of the best, and not to the same degree as like Machine Gun Kelly, where he just got so bad. He's just been irrelevant for probably 8 years now. But it reminded me of one of the best songs from the Dat Piff era, one of the best hook from the Dat Piff era by far.
Okay.
I'm recommending Daddy's Lambo by Yellow Wolf.
Daddy's Lambo. Yellow Wolf. Brandon, I may not know the song.
Yeah.
Daddy's Lambo by Yellow Wolf. Okay.
I'm starting to have
Interesting.
deja vu. I feel like I may have recommended this song already, but I don't care. Like,
You sure?
I'm not sure.
Well, I have the doc open right now. I don't. Wait a minute. No, we haven't mentioned this before.
Okay.
But you say Yellow Wolf, Daddy's World?
Daddy's Lambo.
Lambo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The best hook of the SoundCloud era.
I'm going to have to listen. I don't know if I know this song.
Yeah. I would not defend the career of Yellow Wolf. You know, I don't think he's a particularly. He has some other good songs that I like. You know, maybe 2 or 3 more, but like, very irrelevant career. But man, does this song hold up? Like,
Okay, bet I'm gonna listen to it.
yeah.
Why'd you say I wasn't gonna like it?
Just because, like, I feel like Yellow Wolf has a reputation akin to an MGK.
Oh, okay. I mean, honestly, I've never heard of this person.
And while I would, he's a Southern rapper. He was on Shady Records for a while. He's on One Train.
He is?
Yeah, do you know the song ASAP Rocky song One Train?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's on One Train.
Okay.
So like,
maybe,
yeah, there was a time
know.
when he was like, you would openly compare him to rappers like ASAP Rocky, Kendrick Lamar. He was on the same
he is on One Train.
XXL freshman playlist as Kendrick Lamar, right? And
About competition, Jesus.
and at the time it was like, man, Yellow Wolf might be able to catch up to Kendrick Lamar, and now
You thought,
like,
yeah, you thought.
well, like, no, if you go back and you re-listen to it, you'll be like, oh, these two are not super far apart, but goddamn, are they far apart now?
Right. I'm about to say 2 different worlds.
Yeah.
Okay, bet I'm gonna listen to it.
Yeah. All right. guys, this is the show. This is a podcast-length podcast.
Wow, we're really getting good at this.
Yeah, I know.
Actually, on time.
Yeah, absolutely. Not a half hour early, not much more often, of extra 45 minutes. It makes sense that we are in the top 3%.
Honestly.
Like, because we can talk about this stuff a lot. And you have
Mm-hmm.
no idea how many absolute dog shit conversations we keep off the podcast.
We filter everything out throughout the week so we can come to you somewhat
You have no
professionally.
idea how many times we've revisited the Travis Scott conversation off the podcast because we knew it would be bad content.
It is completely unhinged.
Yeah.
Like, there's no control.
Yeah. All right. I'm a sign out. I have not eaten dinner and I have wings 10 minutes away.
All right.
Listeners, fuck off.
Okay.